Well, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Project Time Garage. This is the project truck that we've been working on this channel as part of a series for a few episodes now. If you're an old viewer on my channel, you've been here a while, then you're probably pretty well caught up with where we are on this. But if you're a new viewer, first, welcome to the channel. Second, I want to stick a link right up there to the series on this truck, so you can kind of catch up, you'll know where we're at. In the last video, we did some mechanical stuff like brake lines and wheel bearings, and I think we did some calipers and maybe a ball joint and some cosmetic stuff like the tailgate and that really awesome set of wheels that just changed the entire look of the truck. In this video, we're going to spend a little more time under the hood. We're going to do some cleanup, some electrical wiring repair, and kind of clean all that stuff up so it doesn't look quite so jumbled under there. We're also going to spend some time on the engine itself. I got a new intake from Summit that's going to replace that old cast iron intake that's on there that weighs like 1,000 pounds. And while we're at it, we'll go ahead and do some paint to the engine and kind of make that look a little bit tidier, I guess. I also got myself a new bumper. It's going to go on the rear of it, and a few other little odds and ends things as we go. So let's start with putting some paint on the parts that are going under the hood. Welcome to Project Time Garage. Well, this is the intake that I got from Summit Racing. Nothing special, just a plain old, probably very much like an Edelbrock Performer. I did read somewhere though, I believe that these were made by Wyand. Maybe that's right, maybe it's not. It's got a really low power curve on it, starting at like 1,500 to 4,000. So that should be okay. This truck's never going to see 4,000 RPMs with me driving it, but that'd be perfect. Also pulled the water pump out of the box and got it sprayed down with brake clean and cleaned up. Perfect time for a little bit of Duplicolor old Ford blue. So I'll get these painted and then we'll just let them sit here and dry for at least a day or so, because it's going to be a couple of days before I put these on. Of course, for you, it'll be very soon, but for me, it'll be a couple of days. Let's paint. There's the intake all painted up, and the water pump nice and clean. I was going to paint this thermostat and housing, but I went to look at it and this is not the right thermostat for this truck. Doesn't go in, so I'll have to grab another one of those. But I happen to remember I've got a couple of extra sets of valve covers sitting down in my container. So I got those and cleaned the extra set of those up and painted them and got them all, you know, all the lips bent and all the puckers beat out of these holes. So I'll stick those on as part of the project. Spent some time with the pressure washer under here and blew everything off that I could blow off just to make it a little bit more pleasurable to work on. I think while we're doing this, we may take care of some of this wiring over here that's kind of ugly. And I thought I remembered this water pump being loose, but I guess I don't. Fan's a little loose. Maybe I should look at that, but yeah, I mean, we'll stick a water pump on it while it's here, but evidently that one's not too old. It hasn't even had time to rust yet, but it is what it is. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull this air cleaner off while I'm at it and go ahead and give it a nice spritz of blue paint too. Went ahead and pulled the truck up on the lift, and I've got the rear end lifted up just a little bit because A, it helps me work on it, and B, when it comes time to drain the coolant, everything's toward the front. So that's what we're going to do first. I'm going to get the coolant drained, and then we'll start pulling stuff apart. Let's get the engine apart. Next is going to be pulling this intake. This thing weighs, I think it weighs 40 or 50 pounds. It's ridiculously heavy, which is another part of the reason I'm going with the Summit one, because it's much, much lighter. But if you haven't worked on the FE series of engines, the push rods actually passed through the intake manifold. So in order to take the intake off of it, you got to lift the rocker rails and pull the push rods out of it. To my knowledge, this is the only engine family that is like that. But that's what we got to do. So I'll get those out and we'll pop that intake off there. After that, I'm going to squirt some paint on the places that I can reach, maybe blow it off, clean it a little bit, and we'll set our new intake. And at that point, things will go fast. Everything's nice and clean now. All the gasket surfaces are smooth and right. I've test fitted my intake gaskets. They look like they are correct. So I'm going to smear some Permatex Right Stuff over the water jacket ports here, just to try to make certain they seal. And instead of using the cork gaskets that go here, we're going to put about that tall bead of Right Stuff there. I've had really bad success with cork gaskets. Even when I glue them down with yellow snot or whatever, over time they pop out. You end up with a major oil leak, and usually for me it's on the back. All right, major update. I've got basically everything back together. The only thing I haven't done yet is put coolant in it. Just want to do a first test fire and see where I'm at before I put 40 gallons of water in it and end up having to tear something back apart. So come look at my progress. Overall, it's a ton cleaner. I went ahead and filled the bowls on the carburetor. I've given it like 47 or 48 pumps, so I know I've got fuel down in the engine. I don't know exactly where my timing is yet. I think I'm close, but we'll see. So it should light up pretty easy. Let me situate you guys where you can see what's going on, and we'll go for a start. Contact! All right, did you hear that initial start? How it kind of went zh, 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 zh. My timing's a little bit advanced, so let me knock that back a little bit. We'll try it again. Let's go back about right there. That sounded pretty advanced. Here we go. Well, that sounds like it's running pretty good to me. Let me turn it off and let's get some coolant in here so we can pull it out and let it run a little bit longer. I can't do anything until I fix that leak. So I guess we'll pull it back on the lift and get under it and see where that's coming from. Valve cover gasket. Well, I've got a drip right there on the side of the bell housing that's coming all the way up from that valve cover. And I've got a nice steady drip on this side. You probably can't see from here, but it's coming from that valve cover. So both valve covers are leaking. Nope, it wasn't a valve cover. It was an intake gasket. Back there on the far right side, right there, is where it was leaking, where the head meets the deck. I knew to pay good attention to that area, and I guess maybe I didn't, or maybe when I put the intake down, maybe I pushed it backward. But right on the very right side of it, you could see where that right stuff was just barely pushed out. So it was squirting just a tiny little bit. But yeah, I did have valve cover leaks, but that wasn't the profuse pouring that I was seeing. This thing was literally dripping a stream of oil off from under it. So obviously you see that it's tore back down. I have another set of intake gaskets. Thank goodness they're inexpensive. And went ahead and got some new bolts for the intake while I was there, because the ARP bolts that I got, these, they do great for a factory intake, but they don't do anything for an aluminum intake, because most of them are too long for an aluminum intake. Why didn't they just make the aluminum intake match the original? Anyway, I'm going to put this thing back together, and we'll see you in a few minutes when it runs. Well, it's got our engine all cleaned up and put back together for the second time, and no leaks. At some point, I will probably go back and tape up some of this wiring using the cloth tape, the same stuff that I used here and over here. And I've got a few things that need to come out, like this electric fuel pump that no longer does anything, and that relay and all this. At one point, I had a second battery sitting here where this toolbox is, and over here I had an extra relay, like a constant duty relay. See the big battery cable running all the way over. The idea with that was when I turned the key on, that relay would latch and basically connect both batteries. So as long as the key was on, both batteries were connected and both were charging. But when you turn the key off, it disconnects the two. And my thought process there was, I was really just kind of testing some things to see how things would work out. And I wanted it to be that even if I left the lights on or ran the winch that I used to have on here too long and ran this battery dead, I could still either have enough juice to make that relay connect and pull power from the other battery or jump yourself off because you got a good battery. And that worked great. It had no issues, but I just didn't really use the truck like that. Most of the time it stayed in the woods, and you know, it was better to have a toolbox sitting over here rather than, you know, a battery. So that's where we are with that. The fuel pump, I had it running for a long, long time, even when I had the 360 engine in here. And I don't even know why. I probably should have a long time ago gone and changed over back to a mechanical pump. And obviously that's what I've done. And this is just the remnant of that pump and the fuel pressure regulator engage. Also, you'll see connections here for Ford DuraSpark. And that's there because originally the truck, it was DuraSpark. And honestly, I've had a lot of trouble with DuraSpark boxes, and they never die when it's convenient. They only die when it's in a stupid place. I had one die in traffic one time. When I was a kid, we had one die trying to pull a combine back with a F150. That was a whole other story. But anyway, I had a bunch of them die, and honestly, in my opinion, points are just a little easier. So I converted this. Since this is a 1968 date-coded engine, it was points anyway. So I went ahead and converted it back to points. Now, in the toolbox, I still have the DuraSpark distributor, the cap, the rotor, the wires. I've got a couple of DuraSpark modules in here, and the truck's completely wired for DuraSpark. So it wouldn't be any problem just to stab a distributor and run it right back. But I've also got a couple extra sets of points and, you know, condenser and that kind of stuff. That's, you know, OE Autolite stuff from back in the day. So honestly, it'll run, I feel like, much longer and much more reliably on points. So that's how it's been for quite a while now. So with that all cleaned up, I wonder what we can do about this. And I'm thinking about that because in this box is a brand new shiny chrome diamond tread bumper from LMC. Nope, not sponsored. I paid for it. And also there's the brackets for it as well. But I figure if we're going to take the bumper off the truck, then we may as well maybe do a little something about this rust if we can. You know, it's right there and all. So, ta-da! Remember the old bed from before? I was originally going to use this bed on the truck and just, you know, paint it back when that side was so caved in. But the more I looked at this bed, the more it was a shit show, man. I didn't want to get involved in it. It was going to take so much body work to straighten it up that, honestly, that one's just about as good. And it looks okay overall. But when you start getting down to the nitty gritty, it's just full of dents and dings. It's been used as a trailer for a long time. I used the rear end out from under it to go under that truck, the 9-inch. So, oh yeah, the cat's back. Looks like we're gonna need, you know, up here somewhere, all the way down through here, possibly. So that's a pretty substantial amount, and I'm sure it's rusty in here. We'll have, you know, we'll probably have to cut it way further, you know, back. I don't know. But this one over here, you can see it's got a dent right here, and I think we can get away with cutting it in here somewhere. Maybe, of course, it's dented here too. Like I said, it's pretty bashed up. We might be able to straighten it some. We might not. This side's way better. We really just need, you know, from basically this body line here. So that's a nice, easy panel to pull. Of course, back here on this one, it's all dented and dinged up where the bumper was. So that's unfortunate. Let's get this bumper knocked off the truck because that's going to come off anyway, and that'll get us a little bit better access. And maybe what we'll do is go ahead and just cut out the sections that are problematic, and then we can use that to decide how far over on this bed that we want to cut over, and just see what we end up with. I mean, it's free metal, so, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll jump on LMC and just order some. The first bolts I've got to get out, or really the two main bolts, it looks like, are these two here. Looks like that one is like a support bracket, but it looks like this is the main bracket for the bumper. Should be just as easy to pop those out, but whoever put the receiver hitch on here took that bolt and went up with it. And you can see right there, there's not enough room to get a socket on that because the bolt protrudes up too far. So I got to pull that bolt out first. Hopefully there's enough room to get a wrench on here. Spin it out, hopefully. There. Fixes that. So that's in there. Let's try this. Pretty serious bolt. Easy. I'm going to stop short of taking that completely out. I don't want the bumper to drop before I'm ready for it to drop. And we're really, really close. All right, let's see what this one does. Give me back my wrench. Thank you. At this point, there's really nothing holding this on. Well, once I pull this last bolt out. It is, however, sitting on top of the receiver hitch, so I'm hoping that'll afford me a little bit of room to work with it and maybe not kill myself. Stand by. Oh yeah, that's loose. I've got one bolt left in it here. I have no bolts left in it here. Anybody got any idea what this weighs? Okay. Let's do this. Let's put the truck on the ground so that maybe it doesn't fall up in this area of our heads. There, now we just have to worry about our toes. Let's see. That ain't bad. I've picked up way worse. So that's the bumper removed from the truck. And with that done, we can see just how far back the rust comes here. So I made a line of what would need to be cut out in order to, patch this back in here. From the inside, this section back here, the rest of it really doesn't look that bad. It's just this rear section. But here's the thing about this. I'm gonna need to come all the way around to basically where this lip is folded over. And if we look at our donor bed, this bumper has been pushed into this, and this entire section back here is just mangled. You would have a hell of a time making that fit. So as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know, this is actually straighter than what's on the bed. So when I take a mangled, twisted piece of sheet metal and start trying to make it fit up here, I'm just gonna have a mess on my hands. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually just gonna go out and order bed corners for it and just graft those in. I think LMC has those also. And I think they're cheap. I think they're like 26, 28 bucks per side. So that's what I'm gonna do. I don't think that'll quite make this video, but who knows, it might make another video. Videos just keep going on this project. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I think we're just gonna order those in. Meanwhile though, I'm gonna go ahead and get the bumper put up and get it bolted up and get it test fitted, and basically I'm just gonna put it on the truck. It's just 4 bolts, it's not a big deal. And while we're at it, this I think is for license plate lamps. They've never worked on the truck. I don't even think there's a pigtail coming off the bumper for them. So I'm gonna work that out also and see if I can make this guy work and get myself some license plate lamps while we're at it. Doing a little test fit in here with these bumper brackets, and I gotta say, it's not exactly what I expected it was gonna be. This was advertised as being for this truck, 73 to 79 F100. Says fits. And I wish they had said fits with a little bit of massaging, because these bumper brackets, well, they ain't for this truck. I've got one bolt hole here that will line up, and the other bolt hole is right here. And even with this bolt hole in there, you can see that the bracket is actually leaning down. It won't move up straight because it hits the bottom of the truck bed here. Now right now I've got them flipped where they're more narrow than the frame. And I think that's right, because if we look here, it's, I don't know, it's about 37 and a quarter or something like that to the outside to outside. Inside's about 36 and a half. If we come over here to the bumper, outside to outside's about 36 and a half. So that sounds like they need to be flipped inward, and maybe the bumper will sit in between these two and the bolts will go like this. But either way, I'm gonna have to drill holes in this frame. I don't see any way around it. Factory had 2 bolts on it, and I'm sure that's what I'll do. Is just, I probably am gonna end up using the factory bolt up there, because the frame already has a nut welded on the inside of it from the factory. I'll probably use that. I just don't know if having these tilted down is gonna mess my bumper up or not. So I think probably what we should do is set the bumper on there, and we'll hang it by a couple of bolts and just maybe let the truck down, have a look at it, and see if we can get it kind of straight and sitting on the truck. If we can, then we'll mark those holes for the frame and drill those. I went ahead and put the first bolt back in the factory hole here, and I went ahead and ugga-dugged it down pretty good so that it's really rigid. Let's take the bumper up there and maybe just see what it looks like. I don't know what I'm expecting here, but did I mention there were no instructions? Which usually means there's a bracket with some holes, figure it out. So I'm fine with that. It's a good thing I ate my Wheaties this morning. I think we said these go on the inside. Is that right? Okay. So that's reasonably straight. We'll just hang a bolt in here. There, at least it won't fall and kill me. All right, that's 2 bolts. I have some adjustment that I can make if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and hang 2 more bolts in it and maybe cinch them down just a little bit. That way we can tell more about what's going on. I notice on this side, the truck is sticking out just a little bit from the bumper. And on that side, it's actually sticking out a little bit too. But the other side looks more, I'll bet you it's because of all of this damage right here. It's making it pop out more. But that's basically it. Let's let it down and see what that looks like. I mean, it looks okay, but right off, it looks like it maybe is too high. It's actually better. Actually, it still looks maybe too high. Okay, that's probably where it's supposed to sit right there. Well, I feel like that's a lot closer. I have just enough reveal under here that I don't think the tailgate will touch. No, it won't. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's pretty good right there. I think I'm going to cinch it down just like it is. Okay. Fast forward a few hours. If my face is bright red, it's because I went to a car show and I am relatively sunburned. I've been out there about 3 or 4 hours. Bumper is bolted up, and this I went ahead and drilled for this one. That wasn't a hole, but I was able to get that taken care of. And then I was looking at this plug right here, which I think is for like tag lights, but I don't have any power on it. And I was just kind of messing around, and look at this. This light is on, and that is what looks like a license plate mount there. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Some of you old Ford buffs out there, school me on that. I assumed that the license plate was always on the bumper, but this one seems to suggest otherwise. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Interesting. So anyway, it looks to me like the wire that runs that is right here. Maybe I can just unplug it and that light goes out. And maybe I can just plug right into that same thing and get my license plate lamps working. Let's give that a whirl. These are the little license plate lights that they sent. Got a little pigtail with a male spade on them. And actually that male spade is basically exactly what the truck has. So it looks like we can just snap those in there and have working lights. Oh, look at that. It works. Neat. I don't like the way that little connection is there without having a boot over it. So I'm going to go ahead and get some shrink wrap tubing, and I'll put that on there, and then I'll shrink wrap it and then figure out a place to tie up all this wire so it's not kind of hanging and looking ugly. It also came with these little plastic or nylon inserts for the tag holder and 4 screws for your license plate. That's pretty nice. This is a perfect time to use my little Wera Tool Check Pro. You guys haven't seen these things. These are like the ultimate little kit to carry around with you. All the bits and, you know, common fasteners and things. Learned about this from Eric O over at the South Main Auto channel. And telling you, man, they are flat flipping awesome. Even has a reversible little teeny ratchet. Anyway, it's perfect for stuff like this. I know a bunch of you guys watch my channel are gearheads. I'm going to leave an Amazon link down below for that. It's a little bit spendy, but I'm going to tell you what, I find myself reaching for it over and over, especially when you get in the interior of a car to do some work. That's pretty much the only thing you need. Well made. There, license plate. Let's turn the lights on. Yeah, license plate complete with lights. Kind of can't beat that. Well, I'm an idiot. I got busy and got to doing other things. Forgot the headlights on the truck were on. Came back way too long later. Got in the truck to start it and turn it around. No dome light. Not even a click. Yep, she did. Probably time for a new battery anyway. But either way, I've got to rescue myself. And luckily for me, I had a company reach out to me and send me a jump starter. Like quite some time ago. Here. An Ansity 3000 amp jump starter. This thing's been sitting in here for probably 2 months, something like that. Wonder if it'll jump start the truck. It's a good time to check. I know what you're saying though. Can you really expect it to start that truck after it's been sitting there for 2 months? I don't know. I want to see though. I can't get into the thing. There we go. Let's try that. After I marred up the front of it. Ah, nifty carrying case. That's cool. Looks like it comes with a charge cable. Some instructions we'll ignore. And the unit, fully charged before use. I'm sure that's just a suggestion. See how many bars we have. Let's peel this off too. 71%. That should be plenty. I'm guessing we just plug this up and hook it to the truck, right? Let's do that. I guess we hook one side. There's one. There's two. I guess we push the button. Oh, there we go. Green light. All right. It's on. Let's see if it'll start the truck. Got interior lights. That's a good start. Yeah. That's why I always say, keep one of those things in the truck with you, because just little stupid stuff like this right here, you've got it with you. Yeah, I've got a full-on, you know, roll-around battery charger right there, but how do you beat that? Completely dead, big block Ford, and it started it and didn't even drag. It's pretty awesome. I'm going to leave an Amazon link down below for this from Ansity. It's, you know, they're inexpensive. They're cheap enough to throw one in every car you own. So throw one in every car you own. Good product. We're going to put this right there. We'll have it next time we need it. Thought I would show this too. After jump starting the truck, it went from 71 to 68 on a completely flat battery. I've also learned that using these things, if the battery is completely flat, sometimes you're better to hook them up and give it like 20 or 30 seconds so it'll transfer some juice to that battery before you try to start it. But either way, proof's in the pudding. Okay, we're checking off boxes here. And speaking of boxes, I have an engine mount on the passenger side that I'm pretty sure is broke. Should be a quick, easy job, right? Yeah, that's famous last words. Well, I'm no proctologist, but I'm pretty sure the engine mount is up here on the engine. Right there. So I guess what we have to do is get that large bolt in the center loose and something else. Wait a minute. Is that missing a bolt on the bottom? It sure is. It's either missing or broke. Well, the bolt on the top is there. Guess we'll start here on the main nut. That bolt right there is in the way of me getting my ratchet off with a deep well. But it takes a deep well to get it started. Okay, there's that one. Wonder what size the top is. Okay, well I guess we need to get the engine lifted up somehow so we can make ourselves enough room to get that loose. This is my serious redneckery to get the engine lifted up. Yeah, it's around the alternator, but that should be fine, right? Right? I mean, alternator should be ready to hold up an entire engine, shouldn't it? I guess we'll find that out, won't we? Well, I barely got the engine up enough to start to get this thing out. And with that stud, it's almost going to be too long. I don't know how the other one's going to go back in it. We're about to find out. Well, there's our failed engine mount. And that's how it failed. Just literally pulled right apart. There's our replacement engine mount, which looks nothing like it. It's wrong. Well, that's the day in the life of working on an old vehicle. This is a 68 engine in a 74 truck, but I was thinking all the big block Ford stuff had the same engine mounts throughout the ages, but maybe I'm wrong. So tomorrow we'll have parts. I called and checked. They'll have it stored at 8 o'clock in the morning. I looked at a picture this time, verified it was right. Hopefully that operation will be done tomorrow. See you in a second. Well, it looks like we finally got the right engine mount. That looks pretty much identical. I also changed the way I've got the engine held up there. That's much better. So now all we got to do is get the engine mount up there, back of the truck. This thing still barely fits in here. You have to turn it sideways to make it fit. And it only goes one way, which I think is like that. All right, well, that's got the engine mount taken care of. Next thing we're going to do is try to clean up some of this wiring a little bit and maybe make the engine bay look a little bit tidier than what it does. I'm going to start over here in this section with getting rid of that fuel pump and fuel pressure regulator and gauge, and I'm going to start removing all of that hard plastic wire loom. And we're going to tape it up with some of this. This is cloth tape, the kind you would find in like OE style wiring harnesses. If you're doing automotive wiring, that's really the tape you should be using because it looks factory. It doesn't have that shiny like appearance to it. It just makes everything look a little cleaner and a little tidier. I'm going to drop a link to Amazon for this stuff. It's pretty inexpensive, but it doesn't go a long way. It looks like this is probably more than half a roll left, and it won't go very far, but it's definitely the right tool for the job. So anyway, if you want some of it, links down below. All right, let's clean it up. This is all the DuraSpark wiring stuff. I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to wrap it up so it looks nice. This is the part for the engine harness that goes over and connects to the distributor. And I believe this is my tachometer wire here. Here's another awesome tool that I found on Amazon. They're flush mount, or they're push mount cable ties. They basically have an assortment of these different kinds in there. There's Christmas trees in various sizes. These are multi-use, so they have the lever on the back so you can open them and get your open your zip tie up. I'll leave a link down there in the bottom also for this if you guys are curious about those, but they sure make a project easier to deal with. Well, let's got that fender apron cleaned up. I left my DuraSpark wires here in case I do decide or have to put the DuraSpark back in it. I've got that main harness taped about halfway up that retainer there where it splits. The DuraSpark harness that goes around that's supposed to go to the distributor, I just doubled it back and put a piece of tape on it just to hold it over there. That way if I ever need it, I can just stretch it over there and plug it into the DuraSpark distributor. This is hanging up. I believe this is the windshield washer. I'm not sure what this is. Also, I've got a connector here that's looped, and I'm not really sure what that is. I don't know if these had a brake pressure sensor on the master cylinder originally for like to turn the brake light on inside or what. Probably what I'll do is end up just unplugging that to see what happens, but I think that's what that is. Onto that side. Well, that's got our engine bay and the wiring tidied up pretty nicely. Definitely doesn't look as scraggly as it used to. All of these trucks back here in the corner, that's just kind of how the wires are, I think. Most of them I've seen have been that way. But at least there's no errant wires just running all over the place. At least everything is in bundles and neatly tied together. Only thing I need to do at some point is I need to disconnect those two heater hoses and drop that big bundle of wires behind it. It really should be up against the apron there as opposed to twisted around the hoses. But I'll need to drain coolant for that. So that completes most of the underhood stuff, at least for this episode. Well, that's about all the time we have for this video. Guys, the truck is coming along beautifully. It's never going to be a showpiece. The body is just too rough. It would probably cost more than the truck would ever be worth to get it straight, but it's going to be a nice driver when it's all said and done. I know that I said in the past couple of videos that we were about done, and we are about done. I think I've got one more video because I got a few more little things that I want to do to it. So definitely stick around and subscribe if you haven't already. You'll see those in the next episode. Guys, I appreciate you watching. As usual, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. And guys, I'll see you next time right here on Project Time Garage.